Hello, and welcome to Have You Got Your Shit Together with me, Caitlin O'Ryan, the podcast that celebrates not having your shit together. On today's episode, we have Daisy Doris May. Daisy is an award-winning drag king, actor, voiceover artist, creator of HÄUS OF DONS, and writer. On screen, Daisy has appeared in shows such as The Last Kingdom, Sex Education, Lewis, and Whitechapel. As a drag king, Steve Porters is a Guildfordian iPod DJ who lives with his mum. Steve went to the Ed Fringe last year and got 5-star reviews for his TED XXX Talk on how to flirt, which transferred to Soho Theatre. He'll be returning to Edinburgh this year with his second series of TED Talks. Daisy won Man Up 2022 as alter ego HÄNS OFF, the Berghain Born VVVIP. HÄNS is one of MAC Cosmetics VIVA GLAM drag artists and recently filmed backstage at London's FASHUN week. Daisy is currently the narrator for one of my favourite shows, First Dates on Channel 4, and the announcer and writer for Sky Witness. I hope you enjoy the episode. Here's Daisy.
Hi.
Thank you for coming onto the podcast. It's been a minute trying to get you.
We've been playing games with each other.
Yeah, well, you've been away.
Yeah, I've been in South Africa for a couple of months.
Right.
And yeah, that's kind of mad to say that it's kind of become my second home. My partner is South African, so
Yeah. So were you just there visiting people, or?
yeah, just
Yeah.
seeing family.
Were you doing some shows out there as well?
Yeah, Steve actually came out
Okay.
to Cape Town, and I performed for the first time in South Africa as in drag.
Right.
Which was super interesting, how it was perceived, and people were so confused.
Was
But
it different from over here, I imagine?
I think so. I feel like London right now is such an exciting place to be with drag, especially. We're seeing all kinds of drag. Whereas in South Africa, I think generally, like, drag queens, most people that I came across anyway haven't heard of drag king.
Yeah.
So anyway, it was fun. My vibe always is to rope in the audience and get them involved. So
Nice.
a lot of people felt very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But it was a good experiment. And I'm actually going back with Skunk, who's a
cool.
comedian I was working with in December.
Yeah.
For a whole month.
Oh my God, how fun.
Yeah, so...
So for people listening then, how would you describe yourself and what you do? Because you seem to do a lot.
I do too much.
Yeah.
My mother can't keep up. No, I would say that I trained as an actor.
Yeah.
My bread and butter and my livelihood has mainly been in voiceovers.
Voice of First Dates.
Voice first
My
date.
absolute favourite show.
I've done some fun voiceovers. I'm also the voice of Sky Witness for the last 5 years.
Okay.
The writer. So
Yeah.
I'm like, Grey's Anatomy. Yes, on Sky Witness. And like Durex, some of the classy work.
Stunning.
New Durex Real Feel.
Yeah.
Just basically
like
all
the
sex
sexy
ones.
voice things
and then
that
the
you're
ill
getting.
ones.
Right.
Gaviscon, Strepsils.
That's the husk.
Lemsip. Honestly, it's very... Anyway, so yeah, I would say voiceover artist is my livelihood. And then recently I would just call myself an artist and a creator in terms of, I've had to be a producer.
Right.
And I'm not a very good producer. But I would say that in order to put your own work on, sometimes you have to wear hats you are not comfortable in.
Yeah.
I'd say I'm a creative.
Yeah.
I don't really know.
When did you get into drag then?
Over lockdown.
Right, okay.
Over lockdown. I was living on my own in Brockley, in my little abode. And it was very intense for me. I was almost kind of grieving my last relationship. And it was the first time I had on my own. This is like the early bit of lockdown. I was still, I'm such a busy person, and it's rare for me to just stay still in one place. So the first month of just being on my own was intense. And then I had a creative era where I would almost wrote out a timetable, calendar, because I'm an absolute geek, of different days where I'd be different characters. So Tuesday afternoon, Karen, Moonstone.
Love.
Steve came alive properly in lockdown,
amazing.
hands off.
Yeah.
I basically found a harness underneath my bed and naturally a beret. Mm-hmm. All the things that are under people's beds. And Hands just came alive, and that very day I went to Tesco and got on a queue. You know when you had to queue?
Yeah.
To buy your milk.
Yeah.
There was this massive queue.
Used your one trip for the day.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, this is so jokes. This is like the Berghain scene. So I just imagined this VIP going to the front of the queue, which is what I did. And I was like, excuse me, I'm on the guest list. I don't queue. Anyway, obviously everyone was very confused.
Yeah.
And like, who is this person? But yeah, it was a space for me to just play, keep myself alive, keep my friends, you know, they enjoyed it. And it was really for like me and my immediate circle to just keep spirits alive and almost stay connected. Like social media was, through all the negativity, which are a lot, the positive side of it is you can stay connected to people. And I was just really lonely. Yeah. And it was a way to, keep my spirit alive, really.
Yeah. I'm just so fascinated by it because I weirdly don't think I was aware that drag kings were a thing up until moving to London, really. Like, obviously RuPaul's Drag Race exists, but it felt like it was very much drag queen orientated, obviously. And you see when people are on that show talking about like what it has done for them in terms of their personal lives and accessing different parts of your personality and stuff like that. Have you noticed that within yourself?
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been queer since as long as I can remember, and that's definitely part of my identity. It has been since, you know, I was 14, 15, whatever, you know. But to be able to explore my own gender and my like gender queerness is a whole new territory for me. And so I think it was only in hindsight where I'm like, that's cool. I don't think it's a full coincidence that I fell into that world. Right. You know, since becoming a drag king, I would now identify as she, they, and obviously he when in drag. But I just love the whole spectrum of gender, and I think it's a really, it's opened up loads of doors for me on a personal level, for sure.
So cool. Okay, well, on a scale of shit to together, how are you feeling today?
Well, the fact that I made you buy me a coffee
I was on route, it was
on the
fine.
way here gives you, I'm gonna give myself a solid like slap bang in the middle.
Okay,
yeah.
like a 5.
Yeah, give me a 5.
Why is that?
Well, I've got nothing to complain about. I'm just like
average.
I'm just lovely. I'm a floater today.
Yeah.
I'm not like off the walls. A lot of people think that I'm just like on speed energy all the time, but I'm actually very wholesome. No, I'm like a bit of a gypsy at the moment. Since I got back from South Africa, I've just been going to see my sisters and staying with my mum and papa, hanging out with them, and like it's always a bit hectic coming back from, because I just want to catch up with everyone, and then I exhaust myself basically.
Yeah. You need a holiday from the holiday kind of vibe.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But no, I'm very good. I'm very happy. I'm a happy, tired, lovely human.
I love that.
You're making me feel happy.
More together. You're achieving something today.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, then on that, what does having your shit together mean to you?
I think it is just being honest with how you're feeling. And being honest with what you want to achieve, and kind of being accountable how you're making that happen. Yeah. So like, I feel like, has anyone got their shit together? If you think you have your shit together all the time, maybe you're not. Maybe you're not being real with yourself. Yeah, for me, it's just being honest with myself. And the times I feel like I've got my shit together are when I'm communicating well with people I love, when I'm being honest with myself, when I'm eating, sleeping, drinking water, which I always... I'm
easy to forget.
I'm so bad at that.
So bad. I have like 5 coffees a day, which I kind of count as like liquid is entering into my body.
I literally like find it so hard. I need to get one of those Love Island bottles.
Yeah. You can get those ones that literally tell you like how many litres.
Got one of those.
Have you?
And I've got one that says 7 a.m, 8 a.m. Wow. It even gives me the time.
The schedule.
And I lose it in about 2 days.
Easily done.
But no, I feel like looking after myself. Yeah. And what I was saying earlier, like finding ways to be still. Because
like
I'm
active rest.
Active rest.
Yeah.
My God. So hard to do. But yeah, me that's what that's about.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. Okay. Before the podcast, I asked you to think of an object that makes you feel like you've got your shit together.
Okay, this is a safe space, no judgment, right?
Absolutely.
I am, and anyone who knows me will know this very well, I am so old school and I love my little Filofax.
Okay.
It was a Filofax and then I lost that, and now it's just a good old-fashioned diary, but I still like to refer it as my Filofax.
Yeah.
And, oh my God, so I left it in South Africa.
Oh, shit.
And look what I've had to resort to. I feel like you should describe this.
Oh my God. Wow, that is like something that you get given in nursery or like year one to keep your little folders
An
together.
A3 page with...
On yellow paper.
Yeah.
And you've like drawn your own calendar out. And there's some splodges, which I feel like were an artistic choice.
Yeah, it was. And look at this, I cross off the days and it's like,
wow.
What kind of granddad
That is,
am I?
yeah, that is old school.
I know that there are things
cute.
like, you know...
That looks like you should be keeping it in your school tray.
100%. But yeah, like all these Google
Apps,
calendars
yeah.
just doesn't do it for me.
Yeah.
Like writing down. So
Like the physical.
yeah, I feel like very close to my diary, and if I've got that near me, I feel safe.
Do you think that's because it's like everything's existing kind of up here a lot of the time, especially when you're like self-employed or an artist, like everything's so here, there and everywhere.
Yeah.
That actually having like a visual thing you can see and refer to.
I am a sucker for a list, and when I write something, I draw an empty box, and next to it I tick it and do it. Honestly,
The satisfaction.
it's so fun. But like being self-employed, you have to keep track of your invoices. Like no one teaches you this kind of thing, and so for me, I need to be near my diary and my journal when I'm being strict.
Yeah.
Do you journal?
I do journal. But I always
I've got that feeling from you. I got that feel.
I always notice when I'm like all over the place, that's the first thing to go. It's like the sitting and the writing things down, or like, you know, putting things into a diary or something like that. I always feel, so for example, on Thursday I'm going to Mexico. It was a last minute decision.
For real?
Yeah. And it was a last minute decision, and I'm feeling completely overwhelmed by it, but I know that I need to sit and like visually write everything down, because otherwise I just will never get through everything.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I just haven't thought about it properly.
I'm so excited.
Yeah,
for you.
it'll be cool. But I was with my housemate the other day, and she's just come back from Mexico, and she was like, God, you know, I was taking probiotics like a week before I went, and I was like, what do you mean? And she was like, well, you can't eat anything that's like touched the water.
Really?
Yeah.
No one told me that.
Yeah. She was like, even the salad, if it's like washed in the water, because our stomachs aren't used to it. So I was like, fuck, there's so much that I just haven't thought about.
Wow. This time last year, I had the weirdest job.
Yeah.
Like, well, I feel like there's no satisfaction when you get someone else paying for a flight. For me, that's like, I've won.
I've made it.
So anyway, me and my friend Ollie went and we hosted this weird kind of like I'm a celebrity, get me out of here, but for influencers.
Wow.
And the whole thing
Whereabouts?
It was near Tulum. It was like an hour away. In like the actual jungle, we got bitten alive. But anyway, it was really epic.
Yeah.
And I just love the whole culture there. Of people dancing with everyone. And,
Yeah. I'm really looking forward to
You're
it.
going to eat such good tacos.
I know. Please, can you tell me about a time in your life where you felt like you really had your shit together?
I don't know why it makes me giggle the way you answer questions. You know what? I'm actually going to say when I was living on the farm in South Africa, on the Western Cape with Mpilo. And this was like second part of lockdown. And we got there and I lived on the farm with his family and his grandparents, who sadly aren't with us anymore, but they're like my soulmates, Fred and Edna, aka Fredna. And for the first time, just being in nature for that long.
Yeah.
And not having any FOMO of what's going on, not having any, just this kind of anxiety of I need to be doing 10 plans in one day. Honestly, I look at myself even 5 years ago and I used to go to a salsa class and then this and then or a play and then go for food.
Running.
I used to just like stack so much in one day, and I actually felt like having time on the farm gave me this ability to zoom out and just be like, wow, life is so simple.
Yeah.
And it was such a beautiful experience.
Yeah.
Honestly, we had dinner every day at 7 p.m. Me and Pilo, his gorgeous parents, my parents-in-law, and Fredna. And it was just 3 generations and soaking up that culture, that history, and his family. And it was so beautiful.
I think things like that remind you exactly what you're saying of like how simple life is and can be, and actually the things that are important are connection to like relationships and people, connections to nature, like, and if you have all of those things balanced, because I think for so many people during lockdown, even in England, obviously it was horrendous for some people, but that stillness, that quiet, the weather was really nice, weirdly, over here. Like, I think people being able to just go back to the basics and enjoying that for the first time. And what you're saying about not having FOMO, like, because everyone was doing the same thing. So you weren't on Instagram looking at, like, what people were achieving necessarily, unless it was, like, a nice crochet pattern that they were doing. And you're like, go you. I don't feel bad that I've not crocheted.
I wasn't on the crochet show. I wasn't on the sourdough. No. But what I did do was just connect to his family. And Fred had late stages of dementia at that time, and so every morning I would go and, you know, we'd have breakfast with Edna, maybe a game of Scrabble in the afternoon, or me and her. She taught me embroidery, and I would do these things called Doris doodles, which is just my little weird doodles, and she would embroider them. And then Fred, he would kind of go on these loops. I think anyone who has a family member with dementia will, I don't know, with Fred it would be his comforting place to go back to the same stories. And it was just so, it was just such a lesson for me of the full circle of life, and, you know, and at the end, grieving Fred and having that connection with my now husband's family. I don't know if we would have been the same without that. So I feel like it wasn't necessarily I've got my shit together, career, but it was like, there are so many more important things than achieving X, Y, Z. And I think because I'm driven and because I want to hustle with my art, you know, I want to act and it's so easy to get wrapped up in that. And it was a real gift to just take a minute. So grateful for those.
That's amazing.
Those days.
Did you grow up in London then?
I grew up in Guildford. Okay. Sorry. Where Steve is obviously from.
Right. Yeah.
And my papa is a musician. Okay. And composer.
Amazing.
So we've had an incredible privileged upbringing, and we've also I've seen through my dad where we've lost everything, and you know, just like he's incredible, and he's turning 80 this year, and he's still working, and he's writing a musical, and I definitely get that from him. But he is king of hustle.
Because I was going to say, like, I think it's a specifically London thing as well, that kind of toxic productivity thing of like, you're running, you're trying to do everything, you're spinning all the plates kind of thing. And it's hard to do the active rest because you're aware that so many people out there are like doing the rat race that you feel like you should be doing if you want to achieve.
100%.
And I find it when I go back home to like Oldham and I'm like in the countryside.
Amazing.
I know. That I feel more like, oh, okay, I can actually switch off here because I'm not feeling guilty. That thing that London does, which is like guilt, you know?
Yeah, I completely hear that. Yeah, it's funny. It's a real balance between having a focus and making shit happen, but also just enjoying the journey. And if you get somewhere else, like, I didn't think I was going to be doing like drag.
No.
I just was, but it's taken a whole new course, and I'm so happy that I'm not just an actor where I'm given a script anymore. It wouldn't satisfy me in the same way. creating my own world and working with other queer artists that I'm like so inspired by that have also created their own worlds.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's part of the journey, and I'm still very much needing to practice what I'm preaching.
Yeah.
Because it's so easy to just get wrapped up.
That's cool. Okay, could you tell us about a time in your life where you really didn't have your shit together?
Which one to pick? Which one to pick? Do you know what? The last year has been extremely difficult for me. Some big ups, but some real juicy downs. And I think it's been a big year of just zooming out to reevaluate my creativity and what it meant to other people. And it's brought out a new awareness. I think in terms of the drag space, it's so nuanced and it's difficult. And I think something that I have, for example, my characters, like the intention that I want to portray with these characters. Let's take Steve, for example. Steve is from Guildford. He's based on people I know, and he's always trying to be cooler than he is. But on the outside, he's trying to adopt London fashion and, sound and, the just everything down to the way he walks almost is trying to be cooler than just outside Guildford, which is like a small town. So, for example, with that character, some constructive feedback I got was, hang on, is this character punching down? Which of course is like, oh, fuck. Wow,
that's so interesting.
I didn't get that, and that obviously hurts because you're like, wow, that's not what I want. So let me take a minute, let me reevaluate, let me take Steve back to his roots, Guildford, and maybe although I think a lot of people have punched down with comedy, and now it's a sensitive subject. So that's one example, and I think the other one was just making a business House of Dons, and anyone will know starting a business when you don't have support and you don't have funding and you are literally the writer, the creator, the director, the stage manager, the choreographer, the king accountant, paying, it's too much. And I don't have all those skill sets, but I did have a vision for it. So I look back and I'm like, wow, maybe I did too much and I wasn't able to really give the care. So what I've done now is delegate. I want it to be, I want to share that out. I want someone else to have an outside eye to be like, hey, hang on, have you thought about this? Or, what are the optics of that choreography? How can that be perceived? Because if you're so in something, you're not able to zoom out. And I think that's been the hardest lesson of basically people saying, that hurt me, that, that action. And I think taking a minute to be like, who am I in this world of drag, which is obviously sensitive, and it's not just important for people, it is people's identity, and it is such it's political, and it's so, obviously I'm going to say this because I love drag kings, but I think drag kings in particular is so vital and it's so political that your art has to be so well thought out. And as someone who is white, AFAB, privileged, you need to really be like, what is my message here? And how can I uplift and support and be a platform for drag kings, which is the intention, versus be a space invader and just not support kings. And I think looking back at those early days, I was perhaps too ambitious. I was like, here's the thing, like, we're all just gonna get paid 50 quid, and people were like, yeah, great. But equally, is that right? Should I have waited longer and got more funding and waited until I had someone to be a stage manager,
Yeah.
to be like, how are you today? What do you need?
Yeah.
And also, you know, better pay. But anyway, I feel like right now I've got an incredible team of advisors around me and other creatives I love. But yeah, it's been real. The journey has been
God,
real.
of
And
course.
learning that not everyone's going to like you.
Yeah.
You know, as someone who, I mean, I've been bullied at school, so I think it has been extra peak because I'm like, it's my worst nightmare to not be liked.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh fuck, this is such a lesson in, I believe in what I do.
Yeah.
I can't just stop what I'm doing because it is who I am.
Yeah.
So I need to just carry on with love and, you know, and admit that I'm human, I'm going to make mistakes. It's how you learn from those mistakes, how you grow from it.
Totally.
So yeah.
Totally. Thank you for sharing that. I think, just listening to you speak there, the main thing is with these things is exactly what you're saying, is being able to make space for people's criticisms and reflections, and to, like, with a pureness of heart, want to grow from it. I think, you know, we're all out here trying to achieve certain things, and occasionally we'll get it wrong. I think this is a problem so much with, like, cancel culture now, is that it's just excluding people completely from the conversation.
Yeah.
And then no growth comes from it. Like, I think it's so important that we give feedback and people listen, and then they choose to improve from it. Because otherwise you're just cutting out so many voices. And also what you might bring to the table might allow space for other people to come up as well. You know, it's similar to, because I'm part of, like, the spoken word world. I do quite a lot of spoken word. And a lot of people go into it with good intentions. And I'm constantly trying to check myself of, like, the things that I write and whether I'm the right person to be speaking about certain issues and stuff like that. And I really feel it in myself if I'm in a space and I feel like I'm taking up the space where other voices would be better suited to talk about those certain things. But I think when you're in artistic endeavours like we are, there's so much that people are just wanting to do the thing that they love.
Yeah.
That actually they haven't thought through the cost or
the
how to pay people or all of those sorts of things. And people want to perform, they want to be given the space to perform, so they'll accept less for themselves.
Exactly.
But then also it's kind of trying to balance it with, like, this is the industry. Like, there's actually not that much money in spoken word. So if you want to be doing the thing, if you want to be given the opportunity, at some point you have to accept that you're not going to be getting the pay that you thought. Do you know what I mean? But it's like everyone coming together and having those conversations and trying to build it up together.
And it's difficult because, so when I first kind of came out of lockdown, I was doing those videos before HÄUS OF DONS, you know, I was just doing cabaret slots at Creefy, at Bar Whatever, at Kings of Clubs. And, you know, the standard fee really starts at 40 quid. 50 quid, and for comedy as well. I'm doing a gig on Thursday for HÄNS for 50 quid. So it was difficult because I'm like, hang on, is that normal?
Yeah.
And now I'm now facing a new challenge of, I want minimum performers to get paid 200 quid, ideally 350. That's what I've been aiming for. But in order to do that, you need to also work in spaces or with brands. And then that is like, hang on, where's the balance there?
Yeah.
Because something that is so authentic and underground and sacred, it's sacred.
Yeah.
So then if you are working with certain brands, then how do you navigate that? And there are some brands that I've worked with, for example, MAC Cosmetics, who, in my opinion, are just the absolute bollocks. They are incredible, the way that they support drag artists and the way that they support all forms of drag. So yeah, it's a constant lesson. So many learnings, and you know, some people will feel, you know what, I'd rather do something and get paid 50 quid and it's to my fellow quid, and I don't want to work for that place or that brand. And at the moment what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to do less and just be like, you know what, that is a really cool project, I want to do that. and follow my gut, and then, you know, balance it out with doing, if I'm going to be doing a big gig, then what charity event can I do next that is giving back? So it's
a lot to navigate.
It's a jungle.
Yeah, and
it's a jungle.
I think the more aware you are, because there's so many people out here who aren't thinking about any of these things. They're just doing it. You know what I mean? But I think it speaks to the level to which you hold yourself and how much you want to be compassionate to all of those things, that you kind of get bogged down in it because you can't do right for doing wrong sometimes. And, you know, I think you just have to move forward with kindness to yourself, don't you? And just and accept that sometimes you're going to get it wrong, but ultimately
nice
your intention is... but I think, you know, I have a lot of friends who are working in similar spheres, and I think you can get so bogged down in the brain work of it all that it can stop you from doing the thing.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to be willing to do the thing and get it slightly wrong.
Yeah.
And believe that your intentions are good so that you can drive forward with it.
Yeah, and there's been moments where I've been like, I don't think I'm strong enough for this. I actually don't know how I'm going to move through this.
Yeah.
But like I said earlier, I was like, I can't just like cut off parts of me, and maybe this is, you know, this is a kind of a different conversation, but it's almost like with this particular world, with this space, sometimes I feel like you're not queer enough to be in those queer spaces. And, you know, I'm sure other people who are with, you know, their partner is someone of the other gender, then from the outside, it's like people will make assumptions. And people make assumptions about everything, you know, my family or whatever. So that's difficult when you put yourself out there online or whatever. You are opening yourself up for everything.
Opinions.
And that's the difficult thing, that you're like, no, there's no context. There's just, it's so intense. So I've experienced that for the first time, and it's given me compassion for anyone who has gone through that. And all I can do is just check in, keep doing my best, and follow my gut and keep learning, I suppose. I have this quote with Steve. He's just listening, learning, and loving. and the ironic thing is that's actually me. Cute.
I think it's true though, isn't it? It's like holding on to your integrity in it all, and people will make assumptions, but you know why you're doing it. You know who you are. You know how queer you are. You know, like other people can project things onto it, but they will never know. You know.
Yeah. And also it's, I understand why they, you know, people feel like that, because so many people, you know, the HÄNS, the HÄNS, you know, come in those spaces and have taken the piss and been space invaders, and so I completely like empathise and get it. I get it, and I think there's nothing you can do to really change someone else's opinion about you. I actually heard this quote the other day: what other people have to say about me is none of my business, which I love. Because I'm like, so I get worried sometimes of, hang on, what does this look like? And it's like, actually, I know the intentions of what I'm trying to do. And although I might not do it in the right way all the time, and, you know, mistakes have been made, learnings have been made. I think as long as you're accountable to that and move through with love, that's like,
definitely,
that's part of it.
And I think this is a problem with like putting things on social media, isn't it? Is that there's no nuance to like the thing. Like you're just presented with a version of someone, and then people are like, I don't know, 50 miles away making opinions about you and actually don't know anything about you. They're just seeing something that they see online.
True.
There's no, you don't get to see someone in a certain space or in context. It's just, everything's kind of out of context.
Yeah. You're so right.
Yeah.
You're so right. I can really relate to that in many ways, but
Tis the world we live in.
Tis the world we live in.
Okay, 3 things that make you feel like shit.
Firstly, very sadly, gluten.
Okay.
What a loser.
Yeah.
And I love beige food.
That is hard. I feel like gluten is like what vegan was about 10 years ago. It's quite hard to find places that are gluten-free.
It's so annoying. So yeah, gluten, I have been for like 5 years. Before that I was in denial, but now it's fine. It's whatever. I mean, grieving is, and also just this sense of time and how sometimes I just want to press pause and just have this magic power of just, can we just stop for a minute? Can we just stop the clock?
Check out for a little bit.
Yeah, it's intense.
Yeah.
It is intense. I've had 3 experiences of losing someone very close to me. You know, they were all in their 20s. So that has been, I've had to have quite shocking goodbyes.
Yeah.
So that has affected my relationship with grief and death and goodbyes, all of it. Because, yeah, there's work to be done there.
A few people have spoken about it on the podcast, and kind of what we always say is that just as a society, we have no real language around grief or like how to support each other in it. I think we expect people to die when they're old. Therefore, when something like that happens, you're so taken aback by it that people are almost like embarrassed to talk about it because they don't want to like upset you, but then you feel completely isolated by it. Like it's...
I love how some cultures celebrate death.
Yeah.
I think a lot of cultures in India actually, they come together and they celebrate life. So, yeah, I mean, that's a bit of a generic statement. I'm sure not everyone in India is like, yeah, all on board with that.
Yeah.
But that mentality of just, that's the only thing that we have in common.
Yeah. Truly.
So if we can just get on board with that and, yeah, just appreciate every day. But it's just fucking rough, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think having this, I do have a bit of an obsession with voice notes and recording people and having conversations. Like I know that I'm present with the relationships I love, but it's just wild. How about you with grief? Do you feel like you're like me? You're obsessed with voice notes. I mean, you have made a podcast. I feel like I feel like you're not far away from me.
Yeah, I think I have been very fortunate. I haven't experienced the death of like a friend in that sense. I think that would completely shock me. Recently, I've been around grief through supporting friends through very like horrendous times. So it's kind of been on the back burner quite a lot. I think also just globally being aware of everything that's going on and just seeing that it's everywhere if you choose to look at it. I think for me, the grief that I've experienced has like moved me away from like religion.
Interesting.
And stuff like that.
Moved you away from religion?
Yeah. I think...
Yeah. What, did you have a religious upbringing?
I was brought up Catholic. Irish Catholic. Yeah. And I think from the deaths that I experienced, it just made me think like, I just don't believe in it. But as I'm kind of getting older again,
it's the big old it.
Big it. But I think, well, I guess, you know, that's organised religion, isn't it?
Yes.
I don't believe in the religion that was subscribed to me from a child. But now I think getting older, there's more of like a spirituality that's coming into play.
Wow, that's
amazing. Which is
yeah.
nice. And I guess I experience grief more in like relationships coming to an end.
Yeah.
And like a pet dying, you know, those little kind of, not everyday griefs, but things that we might interact with more, and loss in that sense. But even around that, we don't really have the language or the tools to support each other.
Yeah.
And I think with those kind of griefs, there's a time frame on it. So like someone might break up with someone and then you're kind of expected to be over it in like 3 months. And then if someone's like sitting in it for a bit longer, you're like, dude, like, come on, move on. It's so weird. We don't have capacity for it. And I think people get a bit scared to be in like arm's length of grief sometimes because it can feel like it catches, you know, and sadness can permeate like relationships, you know.
I had like a interesting experience. I did something called a Vipassana.
Okay, what's that?
Silent 10-day retreat.
Wow, okay.
A retreat makes it sound glamorous actually. It was just like it was actual
silence.
It was hell.
Okay.
No, it was an incredible experience. Yeah. And they say 10 days, it's actually 11 days, but anyway. But the whole thing for me was grief, and it was, again, interestingly, because clearly this is a theme, but it was a time where I was forced to be still, to be quiet.
To sit with
yourself. Yeah. And all of these fears bubbled up, and yeah, me leaving my family or my family leaving me. And so I do think maybe it's a lack of conversation in the culture and less, you know, we're not great at, I don't know about your family, but we just would never even really talk about it, let alone talk about it with a smile. Like I do see other families, even in South Africa actually, I've noticed like the culture is more, let's come together and celebrate that life. But anyway, yeah, that's definitely one.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to say borders. Borders make me feel shit.
Okay.
I think when I tried to fly to South Africa to be with Mpilo, I did get interrogated at the borders and denied entry and put in a holding cell for 24 hours.
Oh my God.
And anyway, it was dramas at the border. I eventually managed 10 days later to get to the farm.
Right.
Via Namibia.
Yeah.
That's not about anyway. And it was just a moment of being like, wow, this is, for so long, I've kind of waltzed through airports with my British passport and I wouldn't have this like deep-rooted uncomfortableness and anxiety. And seeing what happens to Mpilo, for example, with his passport when we are travelling together, and the fact that he might get questioned for that extra 10 minutes or do you know what I mean? We wouldn't know, I personally didn't know the privileges of being white and having a British passport and travelling through. And I think, especially with what's going on in the world, it is just borders, man.
Yeah.
That's my...
And the look of where you're born.
Yeah,
completely.
Exactly.
And the madness that people don't understand that they so easily could have been born in a different country with different, less privileges. And,
completely.
Yeah.
Hey, Ant.
Hey,
You do a great job in editing this podcast, might I say. If people like the podcast, what do they need to do?
like it.
What else?
Follow it on social media.
And then what?
They could share it with every single person they know.
Thanks, Ant. You can go back to your corner now.
Bye.
Okay, 3 things that make you feel like the shit.
Oh my God. Okay. Well, dancing
Okay.
is one, whether that's in my
Amazing.
kitchen, at festivals, salsa with Mpilo.
Were you already doing salsa before you guys were together?
Yes.
Yes.
My
'Cause
dance partner,
those
shout
videos
out
are
Ben, shout out
phenomenal.
Ben.
Okay, Ben, we got you.
No, I just love the whole culture of salsa that
Yeah.
I mean, I don't love the fact that it's the women that rotate round and that it is very gendered. But I have to admit, being led is an incredible sensation. You know, I always get told off. They're like, stop leading me. But I really click with it. And also just going to dance classes. I train in voguing. I have done since I was 18. And I try and go to a class a week. So, yeah, there's nothing like the energy in that room of, just supporting each other and also choreography, like being in sync with other humans at the same time is, for me, such a
The
hard.
shit.
Yeah, it's shit.
I'm so envious of people who can dance.
And I must say, actually, my House of Dons boys, when we did a boy band routine, and when we did it for the first time in the mirror, after I taught them this little medley, and we did it, I think we actually said, we're the shit. So dancing definitely gets my number one.
Yeah, I'm so envious of it because I cannot retain choreography at all.
But maybe choreography isn't you. Maybe you just need to do your own dance.
Yeah. Listen, if I'm in like a club, I can throw some shapes. But I literally cannot remember dance routines at all, and I'm like 5 steps behind everyone else. It's so stressful.
I see this as a challenge.
Yeah,
I
I've
see
recently
this as a challenge
started
to be-
going to aerobics classes, which is hilarious because I first turned up and it was me and like a group of like 60-year-old women, and I'm like,
Incredible.
I am going to be better than these people.
They
Honest to God.
were all ninjas.
They were so far ahead of me, and I was
Oh
like
my
5
God.
steps behind, like trying to catch up. It was crazy.
I love that.
Yeah, it's fun though.
Yeah, it's fun and
Good to move your body, like the endorphins and
100%.
Yeah.
Favourite dancer, Napoleon Dynamite, just like the geeky little situation. I mean, South Africa, man, the dancers there are just incredible.
Yeah.
And like Amapiano with that whole genre, and just seeing like being out of the club. But it is incredible. I just love watching people dance. I love and I love festivals. That was such a big part of my life because I'm a quarter of House of Dinosaur. We put on events and disco dodgeball, things like this. And so festivals have been a huge foundation. And House of Dinosaur has been a huge foundation of play and characters and just dancing in fields is where I've genuinely met most of my friends. So
I love that.
Second, snowboarding.
Yeah, that's so cool.
I feel like the shit.
Yeah.
No, I learned when I was 18. I was
sick.
Had a voice operation at the time. I was a mute for 2 weeks.
No way.
Very depressed. Had to leave drama school early, and I randomly got this job as a nanny. A friend of a friend hooked me up. I think they were like, Daisy's not happy right now. What can we do? So anyway, I ended up going to Switzerland to do this job, and I ended up learning to snowboard. Genuinely there's no sensation like it. You just feel like you're floating. I love it.
It's like skateboarding, but icy.
But also, like, skateboarding, I could never do that. Because
do you think it's transferable? Could you now skateboard?
No. People have said that, but I definitely think, like, kudos to
going downhill because
skateboarders.
you're not really pushing, are you? You're just sliding.
Yeah, you're just like, especially if there's like soft powder, then you can just like roll when you're up. Yeah, I love it.
That is so cool.
I love it. And then my last is when I managed to get on the property ladder by my own hustle and voiceovers.
Yeah.
And it was like a moment of like, I never thought that I would be able to do this.
Yeah.
To get my own abode from my own creative avenues or acting or voiceovers. And so it was just, it was a struggle to be able to do it at the time, but it has really been a grounding space for me, and it's like my little creative nest.
And it's like the security of having somewhere, isn't it? Like,
it really does ground me, and when I'm having an absolute time of it, it is a safe space for me. I'm just like, I did this. I hustled for this, and grateful for my nodules. Because I had 2 voice operations.
Really?
So this is the reason why I'm husky. So thank you, Durex.
It's so
thank
wild,
you,
isn't it?
Strepsils and Lemsip for getting me with.
Oh my God, the shit that you get told at drama school because of your voice, and then actually it's the things that they're trying to get you to change, the things that make you unique.
That's it, yeah. So no, that was a time where I was like, you know what? This is a moment where I can be proud that I've managed to kind of somehow do that.
Yeah. Okay, something that makes you lose your shit in a positive and a negative way.
Positive way, I recently lost my shit in the best way possible at a Vogue ball in Cape Town.
Okay.
I love how inclusive the spaces are there, the Vogue balls. I love that everyone feels welcome. Everyone it's just, oh my God, I don't even know how to describe it. It's electric, absolutely electric. And my voguing family there, shout out, House of Le Cap, they're just incredible. And I trained with them in Cape Town, and I got to like do some workshops and soak up their vibes, and then, going to a ball was just incredible.
Oh my God, yeah.
And then I actually walked. I've only walked about 4 balls, but I plucked up the courage, and I've never actually been more nervous.
Wow.
But it feels incredible to
Was
know.
that in character or as Daisy?
No, this is as me. This is as me. I mean, I'm in a swimming costume, and I feel like it's like a heightened version of myself.
Yeah.
It's interesting because with HÄNS, I think he's such a mask, so I'm able to perform and,
I feel quite safe behind it. Yeah.
But as someone who is a baby Vogue 007, still very early on in my, and especially being white, it's a privilege to be in those spaces. But I think in Cape Town, I feel so confident, and they give so much love.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And same as my voguing teachers here. I love Diva's old way classes. So if anyone is wanting to learn, listening to this, Diva, Old Way on a Tuesday, Carter on a Monday and a Wednesday nights, Kendall. Like there's so many opportunities here to learn. Yeah. I think across any genre of dance, like there's incredible places. But yeah, there's something special about Cape Town.
Amazing.
With that ball for me, and I lost my shit.
Oh my god, love that.
Lost my shit. Negative, lost my shit. I hate passag. That makes me lose my shit. Do you know, I actually have like a really bad temper. It's really bad. If someone's given me like a little passive look, this is me. You okay? Are you alright?
You're pushing
I'm
me
awful.
to be fully aggressive.
Yeah, I actually hate myself in it, like rush hour tube. I'm not okay as a human.
Yeah.
But I mean, I can think of a million reasons how I lose my shit. Right now, the state of the world.
Yeah.
That let's not go there. No, I just
say it.
Let's just state that.
Yeah.
Makes me lose my actual shit.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that's
nothing more to say.
completely valid. A moment you found some shit out about yourself.
What question? I recently found out, even though I think everyone in my immediate surroundings already knew that about me, I've accepted that I have ADHD.
Okay.
And it all makes sense. Everything makes sense. So my whole thing is that I just get distracted.
Yeah.
And actually now learning that my brain works in certain ways, I give myself a bit more love when I do get distracted. I know I can't sit down for longer than 45 minutes. I'm doing very well.
You're doing very well, so she's just thinking, fucking hell.
Literally.
Start wrapping this up.
But I think, doing, like, focusing on something and seeing it through to the end is a real challenge for me.
Yeah.
Anyone else who has ADHD, I think might have other coping mechanisms. I think mine is loads of lists, which I will lose, but like just writing them down makes me feel very happy.
Yeah.
Having a bit of a plan is great for me. Like if I know I need to move my body to be happy.
Yeah.
So if I book in a class, the next day I'm on class pass.
We love a class pass.
Do I get a sponsorship now?
Maybe.
Love you, class pass. So if I do that, then I know I've got some structure in my day. And then I'm...
Something to hold on to. So how recently has it been that you've kind of come to accept?
Well, it was just certain people coming to me saying that, do you have this, do you think? Or I've got this, and then would explain it, and I'd be like, oh, interestingly. And then I spoke to my mum and my family, and they, I think it's a different generation. Like now it's like test, like get it all on paper. Whereas I'm born in the 80s.
Yeah.
I'm my age away.
Yeah.
So I don't think, I love saying that. It's 89, but still, I love saying it. I think, it does make sense. And it's been a couple of years of understanding that.
Yeah.
And I actually get really anxious. When I meet people, I get a bit like probably too tactile, bit OTT. So I have also learned that I get nervous in those situations and I overcompensate.
Yeah. I guess it's just a path to understanding yourself a bit more, isn't it? I think, I've interviewed other people who found out that they had ADHD later on in life. And I think it's what you're saying of just becoming more compassionate to themselves and learning that they need slightly different things, or they might need a bit longer or a bit less time. And
so true.
Yeah. And has it like made you reflect on like when you were younger maybe and, I
mean, funny enough, I saw my school reports the other day.
Yeah.
And they're all just like, Daisy needs to focus. Daisy needs to learn how to focus. She'd be great if she would just focus a bit more. So I think it is actually quite comforting to be like,
I wasn't just naughty.
Yeah, and I definitely am a bit dyslexic. So I think
it's funny how all of those things kind of intersect, isn't it? Like,
and that's one of the reasons why I'm creative, and one of the reasons why I've gone on weird tangents.
Yeah.
Creative tangents.
Yeah.
But have actually developed into
but
something...
followed through with things as well, because I think a lot of the time people with ADHD have this energy that other people lack and will make things happen because it's the way their brain works. From what I've experienced of my friends with ADHD.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, look at that. I'm actually learning about myself through you. You're telling me about me.
Okay, shittest piece of advice you've received.
I guess as an AFAB, people expect you to have achieved something by a certain age and be thinking about babies by a certain age. And I think I've had various advice of like, oh, time's running out, or, you know, you should really crack on. By 32, you should, or 33, definitely. Oh, but 35 is getting a bit on. Yes, like, I'm not denying science, and it is shit that we have this invisible body clock. However, I do think that's shit advice, because ultimately you need to do what's going to make you happy.
Yeah.
And I feel like, I feel confident enough to be like, wow, it just wouldn't have been right if I was...
had rushed into it.
Yeah, and I don't plan to rush into it.
No.
And I just think there is this, like, urgency when you get to a certain age that it's like, oh, and it's just like this, you know, and loads of my friends are starting families or have families, and that's beautiful. And I think it's difficult to stay in your own race sometimes and stay in your own truth of, I don't want that right now.
Yeah.
And also that's okay. So I think generic, often older aunties that are just like, oh, darling, when are you going to crack on, love?
Yeah.
That I think is unhelpful.
Yeah, completely. I was having a conversation the other day with my housemate about this, because, I mean, I'm 28, but I feel like I'm getting to that age where, like, my friends are now looking to move in with their partner to, like, buy a house. Like, they're very much, like, on that trajectory.
Live with friends, man, for as long as you can.
I know, and then...
That's so fun.
Sometimes you can get bogged down into comparing yourself against that, because you're like, oh God, this is what, like, my peers are doing. But then, like, sometimes you have to take a step back as well and be like, okay, well, that's their trajectory. Like, I think being creative and the people that you surround yourself in that, like, when I'm in those circles, I feel it way less, because so many people are choosing that they want to fulfill their careers in, and not to say that the friends who are doing those things aren't, you know, pursuing incredible careers, but there's a more, like, predictable trajectory of, like, you know, getting promotions and stuff like that. Whereas with, like, acting or something, you're all over the place, and it's hard to foresee the next 5 years, let alone, you know, where a child would fit into all of that kind of thing.
It's hard to see the next 5 weeks.
Honestly,
I don't know what I'm doing next week.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. So I think...
you know what I mean? Like, how are you meant to plan? And I think the more you... I mean, look, of course there is a balance, and I think just take everything with a pinch of salt and just... If it's meant to be, and you do want that when you're older, you do want to move in with your partner. Like, everything can be on your time and in a different way than what it could look like. Yeah. So I'm saying this, and now I need to absorb it myself.
Yeah, for sure. Shit you wish you'd known sooner.
I wish at drama school someone told me, dude, you need to make your own work. You need to be a writer. You need to be a producer. You need to at least have some bubbling ideas to collaborate with other artists. I'm not saying do everything on your own. I've learned that's not the way. Yeah. But you can't just wait for the phone to ring. Especially now, I think. Find what excites you, find what stories, find what characters you want to play, and start brainstorming how they can come alive. I think I certainly just had a bit of a naive vision of what an acting career could be, and I left drama school, and I did Whitechapel, and I did Lewis, and I filmed The Last Kingdom, and had a few little things, and was doing some theatre, and then I wasn't getting any roles that excited me. I still haven't played a career role, which is fine, but I wasn't getting characters that I could really get my teeth into.
But that's a part of you that you want to explore, and you want to participate in acting as well, you know?
Exactly.
It's a shame when that thing isn't brought into your career.
And I don't think, or certainly I haven't been offered the kind of roles that excite me. Yeah. So therefore, write them. Yeah. Or cook some ideas up with someone who is a brilliant writer. Yeah. I am not the best writer, but what I am good at is bringing characters to life and improvisation and all of that kind of stuff. So I'm Yeah, I reckon that's the one bit of advice that I wish someone told me.
Yeah. Yeah, I always reference, do you know Rebecca Humphries, the actress?
Oh, yeah.
Because she wrote this thing that went quite big on Instagram, which was like tips for people starting off in acting. And one of the things that she said similar to this was write your own stuff, and not because there isn't
like a
enough
rule book,
work
isn't
out there.
it?
Yeah, not because there isn't necessarily enough work out there, but just because you owe it to yourself to like create something and see it to fruition and like have this thing that you have full ownership over. And that's really stayed with me, because that's part of the reason that I started this podcast even, or like spoken word, was similar to you. I felt like I wasn't getting seen for roles that like fully felt like I could flex in, or like represented my politics or any of these things. And in writing I was able to fulfill that side of myself in those spaces, you know?
Completely.
Yeah.
I think it would be weird if you did get given a script to your door that you it's a rarity, you know?
So
like
rare.
that would be lovely. Look, don't get me wrong. There's part of me that's like, oh, I just want to be given the script and do it, and that will happen again.
Yeah.
But right now, it's not where my head's at. It's not where my focus is at, and I love being part of the creative journey.
Yeah.
So
Definitely.
Shout out to you making a podcast.
But in terms of like
idea,
producing and stuff like that, because you're so right, like I wouldn't know where the fuck to begin with all that stuff. How was that journey? And I guess what advice would you give to people who were wanting to do that for themselves?
I would say, if you really can't have an accountability partner if you are really having to do this on your own, then I would say just like be kind to yourself, know that you're doing your absolute best, and just be honest. Like communicate. Say to your team, doing this on my own, and I'm struggling right now. I'm not very good at the stage management. I really care about all of your individual experiences, but because I'm hosting, I'm not able to check in on all of you.
Yeah.
Well, what do you need?
Yeah.
And I just think communication is everything.
Yeah.
And I would say that a good producer is really good at communicating.
Yeah.
You know, like, guys, this one, there isn't much budget. Do you want to take it? It's absolutely fine if you don't. Boom.
Yeah.
Versus, you know, I guess just, what's the other option? I guess just
I guess being honest with where you're at and like asking for help as well.
I mean,
Yeah.
Delegate.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I think, yeah, and also finding a space that you trust. For me, I first did my shows at Donya and my
I love Donya.
my friend's bar, and it's gorgeous, isn't
It's
it?
so beautiful.
It's like red and pink and frilly and fluffy.
Yeah, it's like walking into a womb.
It is. It really is.
It's amazing. My
womb
friend
with
Kate
mezcal.
has a night there called Like a Virgin, which I feel like you would adore.
Oh my God.
And so basically the premise is that it's an open mic night, but you can't have performed in the medium that you're performing in before. So it's like everyone's first time.
Oh
in
my
trying
God,
that
I
medium.
love it.
Yeah. So like she started off and she did like burlesque, and then she's gone on to do loads of weird shit. My housemate did stand-up comedy for the first time and like absolutely killed it.
When is the next Like a Virgin? I'm coming.
It's normally like every 2 months. It's like bi-monthly. But Kate's had a similar thing where she's been producing it herself, and she is so conscious of trying to make sure that everyone's needs are met. But it's so much energy as well to do that when you're so aware of those things.
Yes,
And you're
it's
trying
difficult.
to create a beautiful space for everyone, you know?
Yeah, and I'm just so grateful for the kings that I've worked with that have said, yo, I need more of that, and it's a two-way street as well, being honest in the moment. God, I've got so much respect for people when they can just be like, actually, I need to go for food, so I'm not going to be there for that time, or whatever it is. But I've really loved being a producer. It's made me learn about what I need as an artist as well if I'm going into a space. But going back to the ADHD thing, I don't think it's easy for me to, it's a simple thing, sending emails out early enough, getting everyone's music, putting it in one place. It's so much admin. So be kind to yourself, comms. And designate.
Great. Okay, we're at the point of a shit shot. which is
Oh my
the
God.
photo that to the outside eye looked like you had your shit together when at the actual time you definitely did not.
Good Lord. Am I going to say this? Yeah, I am going to say this. I am going to say this. So I went to Glastonbury and I used to work at the Rabbit Hole and I was a Cheshire Cat often.
I see that for you.
I was
Great smile.
quite scary, as you can see from the photo, it was quite an intense Cheshire Cat. But these were, you know, as I said to you earlier, festivals were so part of my life. And they also, it was a big part of my culture to do drugs at all the festivals.
Yep.
And I think Glastonbury, there was a situation, whilst after the Cheshire Cat situation, things were taken, I fell into the fire and had third-degree burns on my legs. And so had a bit of a moment.
Yeah.
And I basically have now spent the last 2 years sober.
Wow. Congrats.
Thank you. I actually don't know if I can say that because I still drink margaritas. Right. I'm like a
There's
drug
different forms
sober.
of sober, isn't there?
I'm a tipsy sober.
Yeah.
But no, drugs aren't in my life anymore.
okay.
So as someone who, I mean, that was part of my lifestyle. That was part of my culture, especially in the festival season. And I don't regret any of it. I've learned new things about myself from those experiences. But I also think that part of the reason why I feel focused now is because I'm not relying on anything else. First time I took ketamine, it was like, oh, this is weird. I'm weird. And now I realise I'm weird without that.
Well, often there is a intersection, but a crossover between people with ADHD and drug use, because drugs affect people with ADHD slightly differently.
So you are again telling me about myself.
Rather than it like making people high or anything like that, it's like laser focus, and that's why Ritalin, for example, is like a form of speed, because the speed is allowing the person with ADHD like more clarity and more focus and able to focus on one specific thing.
Wow.
So there's like
That's
it's common for
interesting.
people with ADHD to become reliant on drugs in certain ways. Yeah.
That's super interesting. I mean, my natural state of energy is, I feel like, often cocaine. Like I'm naturally like this. So I think I know that I don't need that for energy or to be fun. Yeah. But it's just easy. It's so, I think with festivals,
everywhere anyway.
I mean, not for me so much in London, like day to day, or even going out here now. Yeah. But I think in fields, that was just
at festivals.
At festivals, it was difficult to grieve that side of me. Basically, after talking about grief game, like almost saying goodbye to that version of myself.
Yeah.
So there's a lovely picture of me as a Cheshire Cat, looking quite mad on a cocktail of all sorts.
Yeah.
And then, having a massive moment that I was like, wow, that's really not worth it. Yeah. That's just not worth it for me. And I kudos and fair play to anyone who can still find the balance, because I'm certainly not sitting here against drugs.
Yeah.
And I actually think, especially the research right now with mushrooms and acid, and if you take it with care and love and you're not cocktailing, incredible. But the way I'm right now, I'm just like,
How do you find being in those spaces now, being sober? Like, is it difficult for you? Is it, Yeah,
it was really difficult. Yeah. It was so difficult. I remember with my friends Jimmy B and Twinks, I was like incredibly sad and scared of being in those spaces, that I wasn't going to be strong enough to say no, and that I wasn't gonna enjoy it in the same way. And actually going back to festivals with, being able to remember all of it for starters is lovely. And you are just like, it's a different frequency. And I personally find I don't need that, but it has taken a minute. It's taken a good minute for me to accept that might not be in my path right now.
Okay, so Daisy, have you got your shit together?
I'm going to say I am absolutely at peace and happy with the fact that I will never fully have my shit together. Mm-hmm. So therefore, I have my shit together.
I love that. You're comfortable in the discomfort.
Yeah. I feel like anyone who is trying to push their own boundaries, who is pushing boundaries of whatever art form that they're up to, it's so rare to be like completely perfect and completely organized, no chaos.
Yeah.
And I think as long as you can stay grounded and stay in tune with yourself and the people you love around you, then don't have your shit together. That sounds dull.
Yeah, gorge. Okay, well, thank you so much for coming onto the podcast.
Thank you. And thank you for my coffee earlier.
That's so fine. Do you have anything that you want to plug?
Well, I am going back to Edinburgh Festival with Steve.
Great.
I'm doing a one-off show at the Box, which we've nearly sold out next Thursday.
Okay.
And it's the last time I'm doing HÄUS OF FLIRT.
Right.
The TED XXX Talk.
Okay.
And Edinburgh, it's How to Mate. So it's a second
Great.
series.
Love.
And so, yeah, come find me there.
Amazing.
Are you going to be at Edinburgh?
I'll probably pop up.
Pop up.
Pop by.
Pop by.
Swing by.
That would be lovely.
Thank you so
thank you
much.
for having me.